Let's move on over to the defensive side of the ball, which was a strength of this 2023 team. They ranked 26th in total defense, only giving up just over 330 yards per game. The run defense ranked 36, only giving up 132 yards a game. And the pass defense was equally as strong, only giving up 20, only giving up slightly under 200 yards per game, and they were ranked 27th in the nation. Let's kind of start with that defensive line. They did take a couple blows this offseason, losing defensive end Caden Willard, who had an awesome year last year. He's off to Oklahoma. And then they lose Austin Ertl to graduation. They do bring in Brian Ugwu and Colby Hilton, among others, and have a commitment from Purdue transfer Mondrell Dean. How did that defensive line look this spring, and did anyone stand out?
Yeah, the defensive line looked pretty strong. I mean, the guy who stood out is Brian Ugwu, who, had a really good season last year. He kind of played second fiddle a little bit to Cade Willard, who was just in the backfield every play. It was really kind of crazy to watch. I think he missed the MAC lead in sacks by like a half a sack. And that's a really big blow for him going to Oklahoma. But just as a guy who enjoys Miami football, I'm really excited to see what he can do in the SEC now. I think that they're going to be really well positioned to make up for those losses. Austin Ertl was a really big piece in the middle of that defense. He wasn't a big stat getter, but he was just a block eater and someone who, if they tried to run right up the middle, Austin Ertl was going to be there. He blocked 2 kicks in the MAC championship game, which is crazy. Just kind of shows his athleticism. I mean, I want to say like 6'4", 300-pound guy.
Yeah.
Getting up there like that in the middle of the line and sticking his hand up. So definitely a couple of really, really tough losses for them, but I think that they're well positioned to make up for that. And that was really one of the strengths of the team last year, why Cade Willard was so impressive. And guys like Austin Ertl, they had a lot of depth. They weren't keeping guys out there for 6 downs at a time. So I think that they're going to be all right.
All right, you mentioned earlier linebacker Matt Slopik, so he kind of returns. He's one of the leaders on this team, and they also returned Ty Wise. They were the top 2 tacklers on this team last year in terms of tackles for the defense. Did those guys kind of pick up where they left off in 2023?
I think for sure. I mean, Salopek for one. Last year in the MAC championship game, you know how slippery DeQuan Finn is. Just impossible to bring down an open field. Basically, the only guy who did it was Matt Salopek. So, he's not someone who you think of as super athletic. If you read what people have to say about him, a lot of people say that he's lacking there a little bit. I think that that's a little bit not necessarily true. And him and Ty Wise are just going to tear up the MAC this year. I mean, so experienced, so skilled. They're both big enough guys, both athletic. I really think that the linebackers are kind of the straw that stirs the drink for this Miami defense, and the fact that they're coming back from last year. Miami's defense was so good last year, allowed the fewest points in MAC games for defense since 2000. The fact that those two are coming back, I mean, the sky is really the limit. It's going to be hard to match or even do better than what they did last year. But having those 2 guys back is a big issue. I mean, the only thing that's going to really hold the Miami defense back is what I'm guessing we're going to talk about in a minute, kind of the inexperience in the secondary.
Yeah, talking about that secondary. They kind of they lose quite a bit. They lost Jarquez Warren to transfer, Michael Dow and Yasheen McKee to graduation. They do return Rayon Strader, Eli Blakely, and Silas Walters. Kind of how did those guys look this spring? Did anyone step up for them?
Yeah, Strader, I think, is going to be kind of the cornerback 1 for this defense. He started last year. I believe he started every single game as a true freshman. He looked out of his element at times for sure, but as the year progressed, you could really see the progression with him. Losing Yasheen McKee is huge at the cornerback position. He had 4 interceptions last year, and each one was more clutch than the last. He blocked what would have been the game-winning kick in the victory bell against Cincinnati, which is probably Miami's most heated rivalry. Some people would say Battle of the Bricks against Ohio. I would say the victory bell against Cincinnati. So he blocked the game-winning kick as time expired in regulation, and then he had the game-sealing interception in overtime. So really, that's somebody who's going to really hurt to lose. Same with Michael Dowell. He was always all over the field. It kind of remains to be seen. I mean, those guys, they looked pretty good in the spring game, but there's only so much you can really tell while they're playing against their teammates, they probably kind of know what their teammate, like the plays that they're running and stuff like that. I think that really, if this defense has issues this year, it's going to be because of the secondary. The linebackers are solid, better than solid. The defensive line, I would say, is solid. The secondary, definitely a little bit of a question.
If you had to pick a defensive player to kind of have a breakout season in 2024, who would that be?
It's a good question. I would probably have to go with, I think I'll say two. Brian Ugwu, I could see him really having a Cade Willard type of year that vaults him into, I believe he will be a senior this year, that kind of vaults him into the discussion for NFL day 3 undrafted type of guy. And I think Rayon Strader definitely, he like I said, he had issues at times last year, but he really pulled it all together by the end of the year. And coming in as a sophomore with 13 games started under your belt, he started the MAC championship. You can tell he's a really talented player, and as that experience continues to compound, I think that Rayon Strader is really going to kind of make a name for himself this year.
It's good to hear. Good to hear that Miami has always been known for a strong defense. It's not like that's going to continue in 2023.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, 2024.